Welcome back to Up Close. So what's your reaction when you hear the term NYCHA, the New York City Housing Authority, the projects, home to hundreds of thousands of people, many of them children. Some alum from the projects have grown to be quite famous, but they're too often in the minority. Public housing indeed embodies in any one campus all of the problems that can plague all of New York City. There is hope, but there is also despair. Opportunity for some, but also a road to nowhere for others. Peaceful coexistence, but also crime. Under the de Blasio administration, perhaps more than any other, a campaign to change all that. Our guest today, the chair and CEO of NYCHA, Shola Olatoye, trying to make those changes. You've been trying. 2.5 years in the job, nearly.
Yes.
How's it going so far?
We have made, I think, significant progress to ensuring that the more than 600,000 residents who call NYCHA home have a safe, clean, and connected community. Look, this has been 40 years of systemic disinvestment in public housing in New York City that have driven a lot of the challenges that you referenced. But I think more than any other administration in recent history, we have invested in NYCHA, both in terms of addressing our major and significant capital needs, $17 billion to get our buildings up to a good state of working repair. We have launched our plan, Next Generation NYCHA, which is not a kitchen sink plan, but really focused on stabilizing the organization so we can deal with the realities that many of our residents face.
You talk, Shola, about disinvestment. Is it neglect?
Look, this has been something that NYCHA has experienced uniquely as the country's largest public housing authority. I would say every level of government has really, I think, forgotten its commitment to public housing. New York City Housing Authority was the jewel of the crown. It was at the time. It was the housing for middle class, working and middle class New Yorkers. It was the place where you could come, stabilize your family, and then move on to that continuation of the American dream.
It wasn't supposed to be a lifetime commitment.
That's right. That's right. But I think the reality is our city is certainly facing a housing crisis, and for many families who have raised their families, they've been the backbones of communities across the city. We're in almost every single neighborhood. NYCHA is not only a place of challenge, but a place of opportunity and hope.
If I look at some of the things you're trying to do, you have big picture stuff,
yes,
like your PACT,
yes,
right? What does that stand for?
Permanent Affordability Communities Together.
Right, I've seen your video, yes, on your PSA on that.
Yes.
You have that, but then you have the little stuff, like making sure lighting is
right, adequate
in the stairwells, where one person visiting there was, Kai Gurley, was shot and killed by a police officer who didn't see anybody in the darkness.
Right. Look, at our core, we're a landlord, right? We house more than 1 in 14 New Yorkers. We have to be better at that core business. Are the lights on? Are the doors locked? Are the buildings secure? And so part of our plan has been being better with the basics. And so whether that's lights, whether that's replacing roofs, thankfully with the mayor's $300 million investment, we're in the process of replacing 20 of 67 roofs just this year. Whether it's installing new cameras and lights, and
you're doing some of that.
And we're doing all of that. We've been ahead of schedule, and we'll continue to do that in 2016.
Why does it take so long? Why does it take so long to do that?
Look, construction is a complicated process in general, but the way that we're funded, particularly around cameras and security issues, we see that money at the end of the city's fiscal year.
Yeah.
And it's a process where we engage our residents to identify where they want to see those types of issues. And it does take time, but the most important thing is safety is our main concern. And so our focus has to be on the comprehensive approach to public safety.
One of your more controversial initiatives, to lease land to developers and build a mix of affordable and market rate housing. A lot of your residents say you're privatizing public housing.
This is not privatization. In fact, we are both adding to the existing affordable housing stock of New York City while also raising some much-needed revenue for the authority. Look, I would love to believe that Washington is going to come back and fund the housing authority the way that it did in the 1960s and before. And that's important, and we will continue to call on that. In the meantime, we have a plan. We have to identify resources that we can use to reinvest in these buildings. Bill, look across the rest of the country. Public housing is being torn down. It's being demolished. Families are being dispersed to hither and yon. New York has decided to take a different tact. We are going to preserve these buildings. We're going to make sure that they return them to a place that is safe and decent. And we're going to do that in a variety of innovative ways.
Not much time left. Your father was from Nigeria. You were raised by a single mom in Connecticut. You said your grandmother lived in the Albany houses in East New York.
Yes.
Exposed you to public housing at an early age. And how did that affect you?
You know, for me, it was grandma's place. So that apartment was the place and home where uncles and aunts and cousins gathered. I knew the people on the floor. I knew the other residents. They knew me as the little girl from Connecticut who, you know, with the funny accent. So it was, for me and for our family, a very stabilizing force. And I think that is the case for hundreds of thousands of families and New Yorkers.
Clearly a passion for you and has spurred you on a little bit. When I say projects, do you cringe? Do you want to say projects? Public housing, does it matter?
Look, you know, Nate, we call them developments at the Housing Authority. I think more importantly are these buildings safe, clean, and connected for our residents? And we have a lot of work to do that. We've made some demonstrable progress. And our job is hopefully to change the narrative so that people realize the value of public housing in New York City.
Affordable housing in New York City may be the biggest issue facing the biggest city in the country. Shola, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for that.
Good luck to you.